Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Green Wisdom Health Show. I'm Janet Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Lewis.
And here to inform you and educate and make you laugh a little bit with a new show today, which sounds like we need to be laughing, called Lectins, Oxalates, and Nightshades. Oh my! Because we've had questions about oxalates. Dr. Lewis has got answers about lectins and nightshades, and we're going to tell you how all of these things correlate together. From what I've been reading, it sounds like we're not going to be left with eating much of anything by the time we get done. So Dr. Lewis is going to educate us about how to steer through all of these informational articles that we hear and read about.
Well, that's why people reach out to us. By the time you read about this, you get kind of frustrated and full of stress, and that's one of the things that causes more health problems than just eating the wrong food, is the stress that goes with trying to do it perfectly. And people are very, very frustrated. I know there are some people that say, well, I got these food sensitivity tests, and I've done them myself. I wasn't really impressed, although I am open to finding a company that I think goes, does a good job and goes beyond the BS. The BS always stands for belief systems. They just have not done much to make me have belief systems that it's a good thing to do. There are a lot of people with opinions, and you have to realize that America has become a nation of knowledge, and that is not a good thing. You have to get a little bit of knowledge, and then you have to go forward based on your faith and positive action. That will get you well, your faith and action, quicker than having the knowledge and understanding. When a patient says, but I don't understand, I think, they're lost. They'll never get there unless they go beyond their understanding. Some scripture to that effect, too. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about this, a little bit about that. And that's why it's important that we do lab, because we can see, certain things and hint to this and this and this. And we, I just like to say we do it very inexpensively. Sometimes I think we do it too inexpensively. So if you think this is expensive, then I'll tell you this quick story. About a weekend ago, I was emailing this young lady in, somewhere close to Birmingham. And she had first told me that she was going to see a functional medicine doctor, and then she wanted to do my stuff. And I said, no, that's kind of duplication of services. Just go see your local doctor. And if you have any questions and don't feel right about it, just let me know. So she did, and she emailed back and said, well, he did this lab, which actually was more thorough than mine. That is a rarity, but he also charged a lot more. And he wanted $8,100 for 6 months, and that would include $2,500 worth of supplements and labs. And I told the lady after looking at the lab, I said, I don't think this guy's doing anything wrong. He just charges a lot more than I do. There's nothing wrong with that if he can get it. But she said, I just didn't feel good in my heart about it. I said, well, that's what you should listen to. And again, he's probably doing everything correctly, as far as I can tell. It's just that you don't feel like it's a good fit, then don't do that. Anyway, you just kind of have to go with your discerning spirit on this, and it works that way with eating also. So I'm going to start a little bit with kidney stones and oxalates, because that was a couple of questions we got from two different people.
Well, when people, oxalate's kind of a new term that we've not really heard in the past. I guess as we're doing more of these diets, we're beginning to have new things that are coming up from them, because we're trying to do it perfect, like you said. But basically, an oxalate's a chemical compound found in many green vegetables and other healthy foods. And your body produces them as waste products as well, correct?
Yeah, and same thing with lectins, which I'm going to get into also. The thing about it is, you really can't do it perfectly, and sometimes we think we're going to a better diet, and then we find out, oh my goodness, this so-called healthy diet is high in this or high in that, and that's not really good for me. Like cashews is, a really bad one. I love cashews. Tomatoes are really bad, but you hear these conflicting stories. Folks, I read 30 years ago, you should never eat a tomato if it's cooked, and now they're saying you should never eat a tomato if it's raw. You hear conflicting things. Janet cooked some last night and put a big gob of garlic on it for me and some kind of panko breadcrumbs that were gluten-free. And I don't know what she does, but they were absolutely delicious. So you cannot do it perfectly, and that's why it's very important to do lab, because on many labs in the urinalysis it'll say crystals, and it'll say calcium oxalate crystals. If you have calcium oxalate crystals, you're going to be much, much, much more likely to form kidney stones. And I don't know, I'm a man, I've never had a baby, but when a woman comes in and says having kidney stones was 10 times or 100 times worse than having a baby, you can bet your butt that was a pretty painful thing. I've never had kidney stones. I have one friend that listened to me, has never had another kidney stone. I have another friend that doesn't listen to me, and he has kidney stones about every 18 months or so, spends $10,000 and misses a lot of work. Now, why he chooses to do that, I'll never know, but, we all make choices. But one of the things you can do is drink water, and it has to be filtered water. I prefer reverse osmosis. That was a question I got not too long ago. What kind of water do I prefer? People say, well, just drink tap water. No, it's already loaded up with contaminants, and that's like you pull up in a bus that's already got 42 people on it. There's no room for anybody else. But if the bus is empty, it can pick up the people. Well, same thing with water. If it does not have the contaminants in it, when you drink it, it flushes out more toxins because it's not already loaded up. I mean, just drinking more good, clean, filtered water will decrease your chances of having oxalate stones, and that's the large majority of kidney stones. So if you have frequent urination, problems urinating, pain or burning during urination, and constant thirst, you may be chronically dehydrated, which is the large majority of us. If you're not having to empty your bladder every hour and a half, 2 hours, you're not drinking enough water. And some of us have professions where we don't have time to do all that. I talk to nurses that are that way. So the dietary factors, and I know there's people that could argue this point, but I personally think that in America we have too much protein. I think it needs to be grass-fed, because if you feed your cows, your chickens, the grain that's high in the lectins and high in the oxalates and is genetically modified and full of glyphosate or Roundup, then your chickens, your eggs, your beef, your turkeys, and fish, farmed fish, are fed that kind of junk. They become a basket full of things you should avoid in the first place. And that's why it's very important that we get back to nature and get closer to the land and get to know your neighbor that's grass feeding his cows and not throwing pesticides all over his garden. But I think we have too much protein, and part of it is maybe we have too much protein. Part of it is we don't digest it, and that's one of the problems with having oxalates, lectins, and nightshades to a degree, is we just don't have the digestive enzymes that are necessary to break these things down. One of the things, as far as an amino acid I'd like to talk about, because you have to have good liver function. That's one thing I really look closely at in the lab, is liver function. One of my favorite ones is NAC, or N-acetylcysteine. Cysteine is one of the amino acids, and it's a sulfur-containing amino acid. It's very important in the formation of skin, incredibly important in detoxification. Now, sulfur is a good thing because that is one of the necessary and appropriate liver detoxification pathways. It's really the chief protein when it comes to hair, skin, and nails.
Well, I want to ask you something about that. That's interesting. You bring up something about.
She never knows what I'm going to say. Honest, this is not scripted.
Yeah, we couldn't do this if it was scripted, I don't think. But you mentioned
stay on it.
You mentioned NAC. Forever we've had people come in our office and say, "Here's this product that makes glutathione for you."
Yes.
Glutathione is your body's master antioxidant and detoxifier, and it's my understanding that if you don't have that working properly, that's got to do with not being able to get rid of oxalates.
Yep.
So, does NAC make glutathione, or is there a product that you can take that is glutathione to make your liver work correctly to repair these things?
The answer is yes and yes. NAC can go on to make glutathione. You can get glutathione or reduced glutathione. Janet and I are going through a lot of really good changes, which you'll all know about in a month or two. I've hinted to it before. But we're looking at some new, better products that are generally less costly but higher quantity of good things and higher quality. And one of the things we're looking very seriously and experimenting with is a new liver detox. But it has the regular milk thistle like everybody else. But it's got some other things, different herbs that I really like. It's high in glutathione and NAC or N-acetylcysteine. Plus it has some really good antioxidants and alpha-lipoic acid and carnitine. Carnitine is like, don't get me started on that. Everybody should be supplementing with carnitine. If we sell enough of it, we'll start getting that. But the amino acid N-acetylcysteine is absolutely incredible. It can actually help prevent side effects from people that are taking chemotherapy and radiation. Yep. Listen to that again. Back it up and listen again. It creates or increases glutathione levels in the lungs, the kidneys, thinking kidney stones, increases glutathione levels in the liver and bone marrow, has an anti-aging effect. Janet takes more of it than I do. That's why she looks younger and prettier. People that have diabetes, though, should be cautious about that because it kind of inactivates insulin. So if you're diabetic, be careful with that. So that's my story on digestion. Too much protein, but just make sure you have really, really good digestive enzymes, and we do, because that's going to help it break down to the individual amino acids, and then the body can take it and just absolutely run with it.
And there are some symptoms that you can maybe correlate to having a lack of glutathione and too many oxalates in your system that you're not getting rid of properly, like kidney stones, like Dr. Lewis mentioned, burning urination, interstitial cystitis.
Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah, that's like you've always got a UTI, urinary tract infection.
And we hear that a lot, too. Something about the environment in East Texas, we have more UTIs or urinary tract symptoms than anybody all over the country. So who knows what's in East Texas.
Having chronic Candida, COPD and asthma, chronic fatigue, cystic fibrosis, hormonal imbalances, child development disorders, including autism.
There's some great research on autism. If people would just bring me those autistic kids, get them on something that's really simple, their body begins to detoxify, and holy cow, it's a brand new kid that's functioning on a higher level.
Yeah, burning bowel movements.
Well, no, bull. That's the Spanish food Hispanic food. No.
Yeah, you can't have things that help burn the bowel movements.
Yeah, like the Mexican food we had at your daddy's house the other day.
Gastrointestinal problems. Joint pain and inflammation similar to fibromyalgia or arthritis, thyroid problems, depression, and insomnia.
And that's linked to lack of glutathione, which is lack of detox.
Right.
Those symptoms and many more are also linked to having too many lectins, and that's usually the grains and the beans and legumes, and there's others. That's why the Italians, if you'll notice, they peel and de-seed their tomatoes, and tomatoes are a nightshade. So see these symptom complexes, they go together and they interact with each other. So it's hard, if not impossible, to pin it down. And that's why I tell people, get someone you trust, get on a good amount of supplements, as much as you can take, as much as you can afford, and that's why I do it very inexpensively compared to what the sweet lady in Birmingham got into. Because I want you to take these supplements. If you do it long term, that's very important. And the reason I say long term is, did you know to get some of these symptoms out of your system by eliminating certain foods may take 6 to 8 weeks or more. Usually people after a week or two, they say, well, I don't see any change, and then they quit. It takes time, folks, and you got nothing but time, so you might as well spend it doing something that's very, very good for you.
Well, it seems like the common denominator in all these things that we talk about is gut health.
Yep.
Because you mentioned nightshades, tomatoes being a nightshade. Yes, it is. And those kind of things used to bother me a lot until I started repairing my gut. And like you said, doing digestive enzymes and doing SBI Protect and one of our favorites, GlutaShield. I think Dr. Lewis is going to talk about that. But I can eat those things now and they don't bother me.
And she looks really good. I mean, she is not overweight. She's peppy. She has that sparkle in her eyes. Her hair looks good. Her nails are strong.
No burning bowel movements. Life's good.
Well, it depends on whether you're eating a ghost pepper or not, I'm sure. Yeah, I like GlutaShield because it has the things necessary for your body to begin to calm and soothe and heal the GI tract, like the glutamine, the N-acetylglucosamine, the DGL, which is deglycerized licorice root, the aloe vera leaf extract. It's got the Trax zinc, and that means it's much, much more absorbable. I would tell you how much I take every day, but I'd probably be wrong. I don't know what she puts in my drink, but I've had bowel issues all my life, and now I pretty much don't, and it's because Janet puts God only knows what in my drink. So
the GlutaShield helps regenerate and maintain GI electrolytes while it supports the health of the intestinal mucosal barrier.
That's sexy.
Which has got a lot to do with calming and cooling and soothing things so they go through smoothly.
So I want to go over a little bit expanded list, and this is more, a little bit geared more toward the lectins, but it can be nightshades or oxalates also. Some of them are low testosterone or low white blood cell count. We see low white blood cell count very, very commonly, and it's really kind of sort of hard to figure out what you're sensitive to. And I know some people that they have said, well, I got off these 10 things and I feel better. That's good. That's the first step. And you've got other steps like repair, re-inoculate with good bacteria, and that's an ongoing thing. And, repair those leaky gut things. And migraine, headaches, memory loss, nutritional deficiencies like low iron or anemia, arthritis, rheumatoid, autoimmune diseases, which can be the thyroid, rheumatoid, MS, Crohn's, colitis, lupus, etc., etc. Brain fog. I want to talk about brain fog. Some of these nutrients or anti-nutrients that you get into actually inhibit the digestion of copper, iron, zinc, and vitamin B1. And anybody that's been around me a long time knows that I'm a big promoter of B1, although we use the really good stuff called benfotiamine. If you have a deficiency, and keep in mind these Candida or yeast puts out an enzyme called thymidase that inhibits your uptake of B1 to start with. So symptoms from a thiamine or B1 deficiency can be constipation, edema, enlarged liver. See, we'll go back to liver health. Fatigue and forgetfulness. I hear brain fog all the time. But GI disturbances, heart changes, irritability, well, that's half the people. Labored breathing. Yeah, I get that way sometimes, and Janet gives me an extra dose of this and that. Loss of appetite, muscle atrophy, numbness, bizarre pain, and numbness syndromes, like numbness of hands, feet. So benfotiamine is much more effective than just straight thiamine, and I just love putting people on that because within 2 or 3 weeks they say, oh my God, my brain fog's gone, I have more energy, and my husband's a little bit prettier now for some reason.
Great for diabetic symptoms also, correct? The benfotiamine? Yes, it is. So anyway, we want to make sure that we address the questions that we have, which we've had a ton of them. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. And it's one of our favorite spots in the show to address all of these. And Dr. Lewis may get back to his nightshades in a minute, but let's make sure we get everybody answered here. And if you're wondering how they're asking questions, they're doing this on Shootin' Straight with Dr. Lewis on Facebook. Which,
because I don't know how to sugarcoat it.
If you would like to be a member of his group, just add yourself to it, and he'll accept you as a member. So we have Fran that's been with us forever, and she says she has a question. With Hashimoto's, does it hurt to eat cruciferous veggies in small amounts? What's your take on this? And you might want to tell people what Hashimoto's is.
Well, it's an autoimmune disease that's attacking the thyroid, and that's a really good question because, again, you can read conflicting information. I'm looking at about, 12 or 15 different thyroid books, so anybody who writes a book's an expert, right? Well, they say conflicting things. Some people say, no, don't do cruciferous vegetables if you have Hashimoto's or any kind of hypothyroidism. I don't think that's true because I don't want to give up the benefits, the anti-cancer benefits that the cruciferous vegetables give you because they have something in it called indole-3-carbinol, which we use. The next metabolic step is DIM, diindolylmethane. I think they're good in small amounts. And there's so many things, Fran, that you can do to slow down what the ravaging effects of Hashimoto's. I've got a lot of people, all they got to do is actively follow instructions, and they get really, really good results.
Okay, thank you, Fran. And then we have Deborah that asks if you can test for fat-soluble vitamin deficiencies. Her 84-year-old mom had her gallbladder removed over 30 years ago and suffers with high blood pressure, and she heard you mention that this scenario could be a low vitamin D level, and she was wondering if in your lab testing she could find out if her mom has vitamin deficiencies.
We routinely check vitamin D, and there are some doctors that I personally think are experts that have written some good books, not just an expert because they wrote a book, that they say they try to routinely get people from 70 to 100 on the vitamin D level, and it can take up to 40,000 units to do that. Well, Janet and I we're going through a lot of really good changes. We're going to get a real super simple 50,000 IU, so just hang on to your hats. And he says he has no problem whatsoever getting people over that mythical 100 that they say is toxic. Well, I don't think I've ever seen any research that says you're toxic on vitamin D until you get around 140 or 150. This doctor says he routinely prescribes 40,000 IUs a day. I can take 20,000 a day, and my guts will not absorb enough to get it past 47. I got it past 47 one time, so that goes back to lack of proper gut function. So, yes, we test that. Yes, it's incredibly important in so many different ways to get that vitamin D up. And just throw it in, ask God to bless it, and you'll get better.
Well, when people are talking about testing, for those that are new listening to our show, we do very low-cost lab work. We do it across the United States. We use Quest Diagnostics as our lab of choice. And basically, we run 12 different lab panels. Vitamin D is one of those panels in there. And we do it with a complimentary consultation from Dr. Lewis, a functional medicine report, and a copy of your lab and recommendations for supplements for your health so you can get started knowing what to take based on lab values, not on what your Aunt Mary told you down the street might work for you. We don't like guessing. That's why we test. And when we say we do 12 panels, most of the time you're getting anywhere from 1 to 3 at your doctor's office because their hands are tied by insurance companies. So what you get here trying to find things out is very comprehensive compared to what you have had in the past. That's all done for under $300. So it's a heck of a buy because we do not do insurance. So we leave them out of the loop and we get to do more and see more on things. And Dwayne, who's been with us for a very long time, commented that the testing is well worth the cost and he found out plenty based on the lab values.
That's why you're uncommonly good looking, Dwayne, because God has matched your looks with your wisdom.
So we hope, Deborah, that answers your question, and we do hope we're able to help your mom. And if you would like to get that started, go to our website, greenwisdomhealth.com. Start with the health survey. That's where we can determine which lab test is best for her. And then we also have people that wish Dr. Lewis happy Father's Day. So thank you for those.
Yep.
And then we have Tara. She would like to know the difference between colostrum and SBI Protect. She thought she heard on one of our podcasts that we like SBI Protect better. So if you could please explain what colostrum does, what SBI Protect is, and why you like it differently, we'd appreciate it.
Well, colostrum's what the cows or any milk producer puts out the first few hours after the baby's born. And it's full of immunoglobulins, and yes, it's a good thing. But there's so many people that have the lactose intolerance or the casein problems with the dairy. And I've gotten some really good results with colostrum, but I like SBI Protect better, and it heals that leaky gut. It does all sorts of things. It's kind of miraculous, and that's a bovine-derived immunoglobulin. It's from serum, not from milk, so you don't have the milk allergies. And Lord, there's a lot of people that I could make several podcasts just talking about the testimonials of what happened when they got on SBI Protect and massive amount of probiotics.
So you would agree SBI Protect is your one of choice then?
Well, that's one you put in my drink. I guess it's the good one.
That's true.
I don't control this, folks. Janet does.
And then on last week's podcast, I know y'all all listened to on probiotics. At least we know Donald did. He is taking a probiotic from us called Flora 5014, and if you're not familiar with what that is, that's a probiotic that's a 50 billion strain probiotic. We give it to people a lot of times whenever they have constipation issues because there's something in it called L-reuteri. That's another strain that helps them go to the bathroom better. The 50 billion is a huge dose. And he's wondering, based on that conversation last week, is it okay to take other probiotics in addition to the one that we had put him on?
Yeah, I think so. I think more is better, unless when you take probiotics, then you get bloating, and then you probably have SIBO, which is SIBO, small intestine bacterial overgrowth. Yes, I think it's good. More is better. Although, unfortunately, most of the supplements and probiotics really aren't what they're cracked up to be, but I would not be afraid to add to that, not at all.
And we've had several of you ask about the ProBiomax Lean. It is a weight loss probiotic made by Zymogen. You do have to be a patient to purchase it from us because they are very particular about who those products go to.
Well, that was polite.
Yes, and it was out of stock because we sold out because it's very popular because it does indeed help with weight loss.
I don't know. That we got skinny girls that say it does. I guess it works. I never tried it.
We got some bigger girls that are way skinnier now because they've been on it too.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So, but it is going to be back in stock. Should have it back in by the end of the week for those of you looking for that.
Yeah, but most people are listening to this. They don't know what the end of the week is.
End of the week is we'll have it back in by June the 21st-ish, 21st to 24th.
Yeah, and that's 2019 or 1973. One of those years.
But we have a few minutes left. Would you like to talk about anything else that you have in your notes regarding nightshades, lectins, and anything that has to do with oxalates?
Well, yeah, there's plenty of good research you can read, and I didn't get too heavy into the nightshades, but it's basically the peppers, some squash, it's tomatoes and potatoes, and the problem is if you're sensitive to that, you don't know what sets you off because that might be MSG or modified food starch or thickeners that they use potatoes with, or if you drink vodka, they're usually made of potatoes, so that could be an issue. Well, okay, I'm going to get crazy. I've got a couple of notes here of research about nightshades if you want to get serious and read the research. I read some of it. There's one about poisonous and injurious plants, potato included, and it's in Colorado Agriculture Extension, and that was a long time ago, even before I was born. So they've known this for years. Then there's one, the nightshades in health, and that's from Horticultural Publications. Then there's one, a relationship of arthritis, any kind of arthritis, to the nightshades, and that's Internal Academy of Preventive Medicine, and it goes on and on and on. But there's, you can always Google different research articles on nightshades and oxalates. But the take is people get frustrated. They say, well, that takes away all my choices, and especially vegans. They eat a lot more legumes and a lot more grains, and they're the group that generally is the least healthy on lab. And if you want to eat that way, that's fine, but you've got to really, really be careful about that. So digestive enzymes, probiotics, get your vitamin D up, increase your mineral content because they steal your minerals and stop a lot of the absorption. And you can get through this and live a healthier, happier life and be able to be a blessing and uplift other people.
So basically, take digestive enzymes, your probiotics, do something for your gut, and moderation on these nightshades and oxalate type foods.
Yeah, well, cut back your vodka because it's made from potatoes.
Oh, ouch, that hurts. And on that note, I believe we'll call it a wrap. Again, we appreciate you listening to us, and please send us more questions. We love the questions. We love ideas for podcast. You guys just really make our week with all of the input you're supplying us out there.
You're keeping me sharp.
Yes, and we hope you have a very blessed week, and we'll be here next time on the Green Wisdom Health Show.
Once again, our show has come to an end, but your hope in your health is only beginning. If you or a loved one are in need of a different outcome and are waiting for a brighter future, take the first step and go to our website and fill out the health survey. Please don't keep us a secret. If you know someone that could benefit from this podcast, please share this show with your friends and family. You are only one step away from a life worth living.